Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Michelle Fondin, and I'm here again, video 4 with my friend, Astrology James Moran, and we're here to talk about what is archetypal astrology. This is the 4th video in our series on twin flames and astrology, and I'm especially excited about this one because I know a little bit about archetypes. In fact, I was exposed to archetypes through the Chopra Center, Deepak Chopra, because part of our meditation course and what I teach is we do something called the collective soul. And there's an archetype exercise. Now, I have been very attracted to the goddess Aphrodite, which is an archetype, right? And I'll even show you. I got this in 2013. This is my goddess Aphrodite statue that I've had on my dresser since 2013 because I just felt attracted to this.
Yeah.
And maybe you can tell me, I think I have Venus in a interesting place in my chart for Venus to be there, or Aphrodite, the goddess Aphrodite, for me to feel that attraction to that energy. And we can certainly talk more about that. But after your first webinar, I downloaded your ebook, the Paradigm Shift Support Manual, and I was really interested because in that ebook, which we'll put the link below if you guys would like to sign up to get that ebook on James' website. But I found it super interesting because you really introduced this concept of archetypes and how they can help us to become the heroes of our own lives. And I really love that. Would you be able to tell me more? First of all, what is archetypal astrology? And second, why do we feel drawn? Like, why do I feel drawn to Aphrodite, for example?
Sure. Yeah. So archetypal astrology is a school, a kind of tradition in astrology that I come from. That's my school. The teacher is Richard Tarnas. We focus on the archetypes of the planet. So in astrology, there's a lot of different factors that you can focus on. There's the planets and the signs and the houses, and then a whole bunch of other stuff too. We focus on the archetypes of the planets, and each planet is what's called an astrological archetype. And an archetype is like a big basket of symbolism that
Okay.
contains within it so many examples of something that has a certain quality to it. So it carries in that basket things of a kind. So like the archetype of Venus, for instance, is associated with harmony and beauty. And harmony and beauty, so it contains in that basket things that have to do with harmony and beauty. And then if we explore what is harmony and what is beauty, they're a little bit the same in the sense that when we hear a harmony, like when we hear a four-chord harmony or something like that, it's beautiful and it attracts us, right?
Oh, that's
We
right.
see,
Yeah, like
yeah,
music. Yeah, okay.
exactly. We see like harmony in a painting, we see a harmony in somebody's features. It's beautiful and it attracts us. And it's pleasant. It gives us pleasure. With Venus, there's an association with pleasure, the pleasure principle. There's an association with the law of attraction. Venus, that archetype doesn't on its own have an agency of like going out and doing stuff. Its agency is to attract towards it. That's its way of working. And harmony is also something that we can strike with friends.
Oh,
Like, oh, we strike a common chord. Oh, there's harmony there. Or with someone that we love. And so there's a sense of like of deep harmony there. And so Venus also associated with the heart, that
oh, is
sense
it?
of,
Okay.
yeah, love in the
Oh, see,
heart.
there you go. Love.
Yeah. So yeah, so Venus, that archetype of Venus is, and you'll notice that the word Venus was in the Greco-Roman pantheon. Venus and Aphrodite are actually the same goddess, two different
Yeah,
names.
so one is Greek, one is the Roman. Is that it?
Yes,
Yeah,
and
okay.
yeah, and so it's the same goddess, and it's the goddess of beauty and love and pleasure. And so in the ancient ways, they didn't use the word archetype; they used the word god or goddess,
Yeah.
and that's why you'll notice that the planets are named after God. Jupiter is Zeus; that's the king of the gods. Saturn was the father of the gods, and Uranus and Mercury and Mars, etc. So they're named after the gods and goddesses, and archetypes are like a current linguistic usage that is similar to the gods and goddesses in the sense that the archetypes are the raw material that makes up our perception of reality. And
Okay.
yeah,
Now,
again, go ahead.
let me ask you this. Is there, well, it's interesting that you say that because when I learned about archetypes through my meditation practice in the Chopra Center, we're doing this practice on the collective energy. Having grown up Roman Catholic, it made me extremely uncomfortable to embrace the concept of gods and goddesses, but archetypes was a more palatable way of thinking about it.
Yeah.
Now I've grown and I'm like, okay, I'm okay with either language. Like it doesn't matter. But at that time, I felt like archetype was more palatable to me. I was like, okay, I can think of these as the heroes and heroines, like this heroic energy, that it makes a lot of sense. But the question I have for you is, can each archetype have a positive and a negative energy? Like, for example, can Aphrodite or Venus's archetypal energy of love and beauty and allure, does it have a dark side? I guess that's my question.
Yeah, so yes. I mean, the answer
Okay.
is that each archetype is like a spectrum. And,
Okay.
and on the spectrum, on one side, we have the challenging quality of it, and the other side, we have the rewarding quality of it.
Mhm.
And so every archetype does. Every archetype. Venus, once we get to the challenging side, it's not necessarily Venus of itself is not too threatening, but on its challenging side, it is the superficiality of beauty, or
Oh,
the or
okay.
the tendency towards vanity, or what we value it for reasons that aren't of integrity, something like that. And whereas on the other side, the rewarding side, I mean, Venus is associated with love. It's just
Yeah.
straight love, like true love, abiding love. So it has a whole spectrum there, that it can manifest in. And then once you start combining the archetypes, you put two archetypes together, then you get even more dimensions. You get all
Yeah.
the different types of factors that can show up in a human psyche.
Okay. Well, could you give us an example? I know I asked you to just take a look at my chart as far as where this beautiful goddess energy shows up in my chart, just to see, like, because I feel that we are attracted to certain archetypes, aren't we?
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
it
Oh
must mirror what we have in our birth chart.
yeah. And the birth chart is just mirroring what we have in our psyche. It's true, it's that we are attracted. So you were born with a Venus Jupiter conjunction
Hmm.
in the fifth house.
Okay. And what is
And
the fifth house?
the fifth house is the house of self-expression. So it's the house of, where we feel kind of like we want to like express our true nature.
Hmm.
Um, and Venus, we talked about the archetype of Venus, and now the archetype of Jupiter, combining archetypes. Jupiter is the archetype of celebration and expansion. And so even just now, sitting here talking to you, you're wearing a shirt that says love
Love.
across your
That
heart.
was not planned.
And you have this statue of Aphrodite that you're kind of like showcasing. So there's this Jupiter likes to celebrate and crown things royalty, because Jupiter is the king of the gods. So
Okay.
whatever it touches, it gets lifted up, it gets buoyed up, it gets regal. And so there's this sense of celebration of love. And so I feel I see that in you. I mean, you might even see other ways that what I'm saying is reflected in your life. Do you see how
Yeah, well, it's funny because how my job has taken a turn as far as what I'm doing now on YouTube is, what is my focus? My focus is on love and love relationships for others. So it's like, how did that happen?
exactly.
But I've always, like, I grew up reading romance novels. I loved Danielle Steele, was one of my favorite. I've always been in love with love and just the idea of love and loving relationships.
I mean, that's a beautiful Jupiter, Venus Jupiter conjunction in the fifth house. I mean, it's gorgeous. I mean, Venus Jupiter conjunction, even just on its own anywhere,
Yeah.
is a beautiful. I mean, those are two archetypes that are so. Jupiter is like abundance and celebration, and Venus is beauty and harmony. So it's like an abundance and celebration of beauty and harmony.
Mhm.
And if you ever see them, it happens roughly once a year. See them get conjoined in the sky at night. Oh,
Mhm.
so beautiful. They're the two of the brightest, and they get together, and it's just like totally gorgeous, you know?
That's amazing. That's so good. So when you look at somebody's birth chart,
Yeah.
and are you looking typically, okay, so if you're doing archetypal astrology, are you helping your clients by looking for maybe the one or two predominant archetypes that are just screaming out in the birth chart that maybe can help the client understand themselves a little bit better?
Yes, and oftentimes you'll see that screaming out quality in the tension that exists between archetypes. So you'll see
Okay.
in a chart there'll be a combination, an archetypal combination that will be tense, what we call tense. There's these angles that are tense, like for instance, an opposition that's 180 degrees from each other, kind of like when there's a full moon, the sun and the moon are opposite each other. So if you were to have two archetypes, you know, Pluto and Mercury, Venus and Pluto, and the Moon and Saturn, whatever it is, then there's some tension there, and it combines those archetypes in a life in a way where we have to figure it out in our life. We have to, and that's what we're all doing. We're all really, whether we know about astrology or not, when we look at everybody's life, everybody's kind of wrestling in their own way. They're trying to figure. There's different sides of themselves that they're trying to figure out. They're trying to dial it in, you know,
Yeah.
and and when we look at the chart, it's like a way of getting optics, getting visibility on, oh, what is it exactly that is trying to figure itself out in your life? And since we know those archetypes and we know what they look like when they're kind of dialed in and strong, we can get some sense, oh, where's this going for you? Like which direction is this going? And you mentioned like that you were drawn towards Aphrodite. We can see, I mean, an interesting kind of game you can play if you want to play it is like, if you are able to look up your birth chart online, which is super easy, you can just go to astrotheme.com or any, I mean, there's dozens of sites that you can just type in your birth information, pull up your birth chart, and you see which the site will usually tell you which archetypes are in tension with each other. And then just think of your favorite artists, think of your favorite musicians, think
Oh,
of your
okay.
favorite movie stars, think of, you know, like, oh, I really like this movie star, whereas my friend really likes this movie star. And then you look at those people's birth charts.
Well, you know what's
Oftentimes.
really funny? Yeah. You know what's really funny is because in that course I was talking about, I did this archetypal exercise.
Mhm.
So I would be drawn to someone like, and I'm just going to give a little teaser to your ebook, but
Yeah.
you had mentioned Rihanna. I've always been attracted to Rihanna. Rihanna's like up here for me. And, but then I'm really attracted to like Mahatma Gandhi and Mother Teresa, which is really, it's funny because isn't that Mother Teresa, Gandhi, isn't that more Jupiter maybe? Well, there's that sense of sacrifice, but also service to others, right? So
That would be Neptune, actually.
that's
Yeah, so that
Neptune. Oh,
yeah,
interesting. Okay. So I don't even know where Neptune is in my chart, but that's interesting because it's always like
yeah,
real spiritual people, but then really beautiful and creative people.
yeah, so, I mean, do you want me, I peeked at your chart, do you want me to
Yeah,
say
look to see where Neptune
so
is.
so, the Venus-Jupiter conjunction, right? The celebration of beauty, celebration of Aphrodite, and a Sun-Neptune conjunction. And
Okay.
so that Neptune is associated with the spiritual service and the sacrifice. And
Okay.
then, yeah, so Neptune's associated with that, and the sun is associated with our central sense of identity. And so there can be a sense that I identify with these people, you know, like there's something about their path and their way that speaks to me, you
Hmm.
know? Does
Yeah,
that
that's
does
so
that
cool.
resonate with you?
Yeah, it does. It does because I've always been attracted to very strong spiritual leaders and who have the gift of service, right? Who have that gift of service, like Gandhi, like Mother Teresa, like Jesus, right? That gift of service.
100%.
Yeah.
Neptune all the way. Love it.
So yeah, it's very cool. But you were saying about so like if you look at your friends' charts and you can see
Yeah.
what kind of
You can
archetypal energies they are attracted to too.
Yeah, you can look at like, you know, say really I'm into Denzel Washington and my friend's really into, you know, like some some comedian or something, or but then you look at like look at Denzel Washington's chart and you'll see oftentimes in what I'm attracted to, musicians, whatever, there's similar aspects. So it's
Okay.
actually like part of me is looking and seeing like, how did they figure it out? You know, I'm like wrestling with this
Yeah.
thing and I'm subconsciously attracted to like, oh, through their music, they're coming up with a creative way to figure it out, or through their acting or through their art or through their politics or whatever it is. I'm like, yeah, so you look at that, and I mean that's just one of the many things that you can do with archetypal astrology to understand your own chart. You can and understand your friends, understand your friend's chart, and then you can also look at charts together, and
Mhm.
that's a way of understanding how you interact with other people. And the archetype, each relationship has its own archetypal tensions,
Yeah, for sure.
where one planet is for that person is where another planet is for me. And so that's another way of looking at it too.
That's really cool. And you mentioned when we spoke about birth times, you
Hmm.
also mentioned that if you have a birth time, you
Hmm.
can get more information. But
Yeah,
with archetypal astrology, it's not as important to have an exact birth time, meaning that you can still get a lot of information. So, how is that? How is that you can get a lot of information through archetypal astrology, even if you don't have an exact birth time?
great question. So with archetypal astrology, it comes down to what is the aim of archetypal astrology. And the aim of archetypal astrology, particularly the way I practice it, is to help the individual get to understand themselves, their nature, and their life so that all those flow easier.
Okay.
All of that flows either, and we're able to release our potential, we're able to enjoy our lives, release sides of ourselves, and just really live fully and happily. And
Yes.
so when we look at the archetype, when we look at a chart in archetypal astrology, we're looking into this, we're looking at it as a map to the psyche of the individual. The
Mhm.
planets play such a big part in that. If we don't know the time, we still are going to know where the planets were in the sky on that day. So it's still going to be a map to their mind. It's just not going to be as complete a map.
Right. Okay. Got it.
That's archetypal astrology. There's other schools of astrology where the focus is not as much on understanding the psyche, but more on predicting events in the life.
Okay.
And if you want to use the birth chart, the astrological map to predict events in their life, then you're going to want to know the exact birth time.
Right. Now, do
Uh,
you do that as well, James? Can you do predictive as well as the archetypal as well?
Yeah, help people. I mean, what I enjoy offering is helping people understand how to navigate, for instance, like the next year.
Mhm.
I talk about it in terms of rhythm. Like if
Mhm.
we understand that the next month the focus is on this, the next month after that focuses on that, then we can kind of conserve our energies and know like where to put our focus at different times, know what's coming up, in a general sense. So I definitely do that, though I
And it
don't.
yeah, it makes it feel like you're not fighting against the current too,
Exactly,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
It's like
Okay.
it's almost like it's like you get to hear the song and the rhythm before you get out on the floor of the year. So like, oh, like this is the groove, as
Yeah.
opposed to like just suddenly finding yourself in it and not being familiar. And yeah, so that's what I do, though I don't practice. There's plenty of ways of practicing astrology that really predict concrete things in life. In India, in Vedic astrology, some types of traditional Western astrology, predicting when you'll have children, when you get married, predicting stuff about illness, wellness, the beginning and start of certain things, like predicting it down to almost like a day or something like
Mhm.
that. That's what I don't do.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's good to know, right? Because every astrologer offers a gift, a gift of, like you said, that lens. And it's like if you have a Canon DSLR camera, you need different lenses for different pictures and different videos and different broader scopes or narrower scopes. And what I really love about what you offer, James, is that, I do psychic readings. So I do tarot readings. That's one lens. And then my sister does Akashic readings. That's another lens, and astrology offers another lens. And I love it because they're different pieces of the puzzle and they're different tools different vantage points
Yeah.
that you can look at to navigate your life so much better.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great to have those optics, to have that visibility, and to know that you're embedded in a larger harmony, a larger orchestration that you can dance with. I mean, you can have fun with it. You can really kind of tease out some beauty in life. That's my feeling.
Yeah, I agree. And I like taking advantage of all of those lenses because I struggled early in life, and I'll tell you this, if now I can get my year in advance update and kind of see
Mhm.
here's what's coming, then I can be prepared to, like you said, to like modify each month, each quarter, however I can in order to make my life smoother.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a gift.
Oh, I mean, I use it all the time. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like I'm spoiled, I feel, because I dance with my own life and my own timing all the time, and I'm always thanking my lucky stars, no pun intended, that
Yes.
that I can do that, that I can see it, I can know the rhythm and make the optimal use of all of it.
That's beautiful. Well, James, you certainly have given us a great gift with this 4 video series, and I hope at some point in the future you can come back on my channel and we can do this again. But meanwhile, you can find James at
JamesMoran.org. That's JamesMoran.org. Type in your email there and get connected to my ebook, Your Paradigm Shift Support Manual. You can also find me November 29th, my webinar, which is how to move beyond meditation in your psycho-spiritual evolution. It's about the wedding of meditation and astrology. And that's November 29th. And we will provide a link for you to sign up.
Awesome. And that's at 5:30 p.m. Eastern time and 2:30 p.m. Pacific time. But of course, there are viewers all over the entire world. So
Yeah.
plug in your time zone. James is on Eastern United States time. So thank you so much, James, for joining us. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you for subscribing to my channel below. Click on that bell, scroll up to all for all notifications. And thank you for giving the video a thumbs up. Thanks so much, guys. And we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.
Thank you.